So the point we're arguing here, the point we're making is that the opposite, one opposite of kufr is shukr. Or one opposite of shukr is kufr. And if you think it from the perspective of how do you respond to the mercies that Allah Ta'ala gives you, either you respond to the mercies by recognizing that Allah Ta'ala is giving you mercies and you respond with gratitude, or you deny you receiving any mercies, and that in itself is a type of kufr. Right? So the goal, we're never going to be able to fully acknowledge all the mercies Allah Ta'ala gives to us. That's humanly impossible. But the point being that you are given mercies upon mercies upon mercies, and you respond, inshallah, with thinking about Allah Ta'ala and with gratitude. And this sets up the next section, starting from ayah 153, the next subsection. Or this overall section we're looking at is about the story of Makkah, in particular Ibrahim alayhi salam and family, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and family, and this idea of sabr. And now we're going to talk especially about sabr. So ayah 153, and this goes on for a little bit, at least to 157. And these are ayahs that I'm sure you're all familiar with in some capacity. Some of these are going to sound very familiar. So, Ya ayyuhalladhina, O you who believe. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O you who believe. Ista'inu bis sabri was salah. Seek help in sabr and salah. Now we've seen that before. Anybody remember where?
The same, wasn't it just like 8 ayahs ago or something? I don't know.
It was around ayah 45. Let's look at it briefly.
Okay. 45?
Yeah. Sorry for those of you who have to scroll and scroll and scroll.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So remember all the way back, starting from ayah 40, Allah Ta'ala was addressing the children of Israel. And one of the discussions we had way back then was, if Allah is giving a command to the children of Israel, is it a command to me? Okay. And you remember how we answered that? No, you don't remember, or no, it's not a command?
No, it's not.
No.
Right, so it's a command for them, not a command for me. It's a command for them, but it's something that I should be conscious of. And so the point is that every time you see a command in the Quran, the first thing to look for when you're looking at the command is who is the command being addressed to. Because even though it might sound like something that's a command on me, I'm only going to be held to account. I should only assume I'm going to be held to account if I'm being addressed directly. So I do not consider myself to be part of the children of Israel. So ayah 40 through 46 or so, it's a series of commands for them. But if you look at ayah 45, وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ, seek help in sabr and salah. So there Allah Ta'ala is speaking to them, and this we can assume is something that they will be held to account for. You raise your hand. Okay. Yeah, you can keep stretching. Already falling apart, falling asleep. We haven't even started the first ayah. Yeah. So there it's a command for them, but it is at least a principle for me. The key point that I'm making is that if I'm calling it a command for me, it's something that I should assume I'll be held to account for on the Day of Judgment. So if it's not a command for me, it's something that I can benefit from or I should pay attention to. But now going back to ayah 153, who is being addressed? Us. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. So the literal translation would be, O you who have believed. And you'll find some translators will choose, O you who have professed faith, O you who claim to have faith. Ista'inu bis-sabri was-salah. Seek help in sabr and salah. Now we've already been commanded to do salah. Anybody remember where?
Good question.
Epic fail. Okay, so ayah 110, we were commanded to pray and give zakat. Right, salah and zakat come together over and over again. Here, now we're being told to seek help from the salah.
Through sabr and salah?
So seek help from sabr and seek help from salah.
Seek help through them.
Yeah. So a previous command was do it, regardless of how much you're concentrating or not. Do it. Now this command is seek benefit from it.
Well, over here they translate it as steadfastness, but then the sabr patience or?
So sabr in Urdu is more patience. Yeah. Sabr in Arabic is more like fortitude and perseverance. So patience in the sense of being passive, but sabr, in my understanding of its Arabic usage, is more active. Right? Like you keep moving forward, as opposed to patience, which often is, okay, I'm staying still, I'm going to bide my time. Okay, so what help should I seek from Sabr and Salah? What do you think?
Nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
So one core is nearness to Allah Ta'ala, and what will that give me?
Peace.
Okay. What else? Sorry?
Peace.
Okay. What else should it give me?
Allah's it'll make you closer to Allah.
Okay. So nearness to Allah, peace, patience, hopefulness is a big part of it. No, yes.
Can it be like you're like if this world is painful because we're away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, isn't like a prescription for closeness?
So take that point a step further, this idea being that as I get closer to Allah Ta'ala, it's easier for me to deal with what hits me. Right? And this is a huge, huge thing. Going back to contrasting a common Muslim with a common non-believer. By non-believer, I'm not saying Christians and Jews, I'm saying a person who doesn't follow any religion. That people who follow no religion, it's very easy to find non-people of no religion who are polite, just like, Muslim is or should be, who are well-mannered, who are welcoming and stuff. But it is hard to find people of no religion who can deal with struggles in life. That is harder to find. You can find some, but in my experience, what religion especially gives you is a shield, a cushion to dealing with all that hates you in life.
So would it be? Sorry, go ahead.
I have like 3 guys in my class that I'm so close to, but all 3 of them are atheists, and some of them
What grade are you in?
7.
Are there atheists at that age?
Well, it's like a parent thing.
Okay, if the parents are, that's
Yeah,
different.
because they're Chinese. Because China.
Oh, you guys
they
told me
they
about them
believe
before,
in
yeah.
communism. But then they
Oh, they're like communist Chinese. That's interesting. Huh?
Well,
They're
it
not,
makes
but like
They're like that's what happened. Like when
Yeah.
communism was like banned in
Okay.
America, they had all of the communists became atheists.
Okay.
So yeah, basically, like a lot of them are just really depressed people, and it's like really weird.
It's kind of
Why are
sad.
you friends with them?
To bring light into their lives.
Yeah.
All
I
stuff
think
he
they're
says
nice
is,
kids.
look at my dimples and everyone will be happy. Yeah.
Because my friend has
I'll make you
dimples
brownies.
too.
Yeah. Look at my other friend. Yeah.
So the question came Monday night from, I think it was, what's her name?
Machayo?
Mukhayo, yeah. Her friend Madinka was there too. They're from.
She also from
They're from
You're right, what's
They're
from
from-
Kazakhstan.
Kazakhstan.
So he tells me about this dude from Kazakhstan, and so I asked him, you didn't ask the question, did you? You didn't ask the question. He's like, what? I go, the question. He goes, oh, Borat? Yeah, I did. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
They're Loyola students. But she essentially asked, she's like, well, what's the purpose of prayer? What are we told is the purpose of prayer?
They grew up in former communist states.
They're Muslim in identity, but they weren't taught anything.
Yeah.
And so would this be, would we point to this to say this is one of the I mean, in terms of like this
She's asking
life,
what's the
not
benefit.
just fulfilling the obligation
Yeah.
of worship. What are the benefits we're told of prayer? Would this be one of them?
I would say this definitely, right? I forget where the ayah is, where Salah also gives you strength in keeping you from fahish. I can find that ayah.
Okay.
Fahisha, we'll get it with both. That is ayah number. Well, I'll find it, inshallah.
Okay.
But the basic point being that among other benefits, Salah and Sabr, they give you, theoretically at least, they give you backbone. Surah 29, ayah 45. Let's all look at that really quickly.
Surah what? I'm sorry?
29, ayah 45. Sorry?
It's 45 too.
I think
Al-Ankabut.
if just unlocked
29:45.
the Da
Someone
Vinci
should go tell
Code.
Uncle like right
Look at
now.
all of
The
the
Da Vinci
40
Code.
times.
The secret of the Quran.
This one guy, I mean, we need more creativity in our community. Like this one guy in France opened up a burger place for Muslims, and he called it Burger King Muslim. Kind of lame.
Burger King Muslim.
Point across the
Muslim Burger King.
Actually, no, maybe King wasn't part of it, but the Muslim was definitely part of it.
Burger Muslim.
Or it was like halal burger Muslim.
burger.
We can.
We wanted clarity.
So,
That is.
I feel like we looked at this. So recite what has been revealed to you of the Kitab and establish Salah. Indeed, Salah prohibits fahsha wal munkar. So prohibits you from doing fahish. Fahish, in a simple nutshell, it's often translated as indecency and immorality. Think of it as doing sins involved with other people, right? There's a huge difference between sins you do yourself and sins that you do with other people. Sins you do with yourself, keep them completely silent, don't let anyone know about them, and seek forgiveness from Allah Ta'ala. But when you do sins with other people, that is contributing to corruption in society. So that's fahish. And then munkar is essentially doing things that are wrong. Yeah, I feel like we've had this discussion. And then, وَلَذِكْرُ اللَّهِ أَكْبَرُ وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ مَا تَصْنَعُونَ and the remembrance of Allah is greater. It was in one of our classes. Might have been in the Tuesday class.
Maybe,
Yeah. Okay. Did we talk about the Tuesday class?
Daytime one?
Yeah. I don't know why we would be, but I feel like we're all
The
good.
unspoken class.
It's the unspoken
Hey,
class.
what ayah was that you just referenced?
Surah 29, ayah 45.
Okay, thanks.
It's one of those ayahs that people always quote in Jumu'ah Khutbah, so it's a good ayah to know. So that would be another benefit of Salah. I mean, there are other benefits like the type of discipline and consistency it can give to your day.
How do you separate something that you're doing wrong with other people versus? I know, because you can get technical, right? Because what if you're doing it, but it's socially in a setting? You're still individually doing. I mean, what comprises something that you do without anybody knowing, like lying or something, or?
I mean, yeah, that would be an example.
And you could eat haram food alone or something. I don't know.
No, but my point is that like
Naima is eating her McRib.
Bacon bits like
No one sees me.
no, but the thing is, I feel like
I didn't
most
get
things
into
are going to involve not most things. I guess there's many things you, but I feel like what if it's not like that you're interacting with others. It's not a sin that you're committing with somebody. It's not an interaction, right? Like
Yeah, I'm
you're-
talking
like
about
you're
when two people
yelling
are
and screaming.
consciously sinning together.
Is that
Okay,
right?
so two people enjoining and sin together. That sounds so bad.
Yeah. That's what it is. Yeah. So like, let's say the hypothetical Naima who is getting her hypothetical McRib from McDonald's.
And then she invites
The
me.
person who's selling it may not know,
Oh,
right?
okay.
You know, that she's committing
So it's an
a
interaction.
sin.
Okay.
But I mean, two people knowing they're doing the sin together.
Wow.
So if I sell something like a McRib to someone who's Muslim, am I considered like are we?
You'd be participating in the sin. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I mean, again, McDonald's might be an exception because there's no meat involved, so. You know, joke.
It's
Okay,
not
yeah,
even a
yeah.
joke. It's like
It's not a joke.
it's not. There's no meat. I'll go eat it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lon.
Thanks.
Tell the other girl.
Oh,
Give a come. Oh.
You know,
I remember. Would the ghiba count as
Yes.
it would? Like
Yeah.
even if
Unless you're backbiting someone alone, you know, by yourself.
Wait, would
Man,
both
Omer.
of the people have to be Muslim?
That's a good question. I would
think it
assume so,
matters,
but that's actually a really good question to count in terms of what we're talking about. There's another way to look at fahish is when you're doing a sin and it's public, right?
Isn't the point though that it's not like not Muslim to Muslim, but it's that
Just
like
with
society
people.
as a
Yeah.
whole?
I think so.
But that's the point. The point is that you're causing corruption. in
Because if
society.
you're like, oh, well, I'm eating a McRib with my friend who's not Muslim, suddenly that's not fahish. Like, that's just kind of silly. Like,
Yeah, right, yeah.
So is fahish technically whatever you're doing is causing corruption in a society?
no, it's wrong.
So the simplest translation would be indecency, like public indecency.
Public.
I don't know how you could do private indecency.
I mean, I thought fahish was like shameless.
Yeah, it's
So
shamelessness.
that would be fisk. Like fisk would be more shamelessness.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so
That's facet,
or
rebelliousness.
Yeah, rebelliousness. Yeah.
And then
I mean, they all
fasada is
overlap.
corruption.
Sorry?
Right? Fasada is corruption.
Fasad is corruption. Yeah.
But the thing is, if there's, it doesn't have to be in public. Like, she could be having her McRib in a room together with her red buddy. It's not in
Yeah.
public.
Well, okay. By public, I mean someone else is present.
Okay.
Right. It doesn't mean you're
But you know,
standing, in front of Times Square and saying to everyone, "Hello, everyone! Watch as I'm about to
McRibs are back.
backbite someone." Something like that.
Singing
You had raised your hand on
Yeah,
top.
can I just make a comment about, I think you said something about selling the McRib to someone, right? Just in case, people here might have jobs where they do have the responsibility to sell alcohol. I mean, it's obviously under the intention that you're just employed by someone and you're selling whatever their merchandise is. That's different.
Well, I'll put it like this: if you're not in a position to choose your employment, that's one thing. right? If you're in the position to choose a different employment, that's a different issue. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. but at the
Meaning,
same
we should
time-
never judge a person in their individual job, right? But I do think it's a problem when you have a whole bunch of people in a particular field, right, who are doing something that is.
No, that's true, but I mean, it is by intention, of course, right? Like, so if you're working for obviously an employer and, you know, like, you don't have a college degree or anything, you work at Target, Walmart, you don't get to decide, obviously, right? So
Yeah.
I just wanted to make that differentiation.
Yeah, it's a very, very important point. And the point that I'm emphasizing is that if I'm in such a position that it's hard for me to get a different job, which, yeah, if my situation is such that the best I can get is a department store job, then chances are I don't have too many choices
Exactly.
in terms of what I'm going through the checkout, yeah?
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, you said the benefit of prayer is not engaging in this indecency and so on. But I mean, I would imagine your prayer's pretty empty if you're doing the indecency.
It's one of those cases where one's going to win over the other in the
Yeah.
long term,
Right.
right? I mean, it's not hard to pray an empty prayer,
Yes.
Yeah.
right? But can you sustain that over a long period of time? I think that's hard, right? You know, there's. I mean, I was telling Omer yesterday. I don't know why I have all these stories of criminals today.
Me? Or it's like
Well, I don't even know if those guys prayed, but you know, these guys that they got kicked out of school for they kicked out of schools for hacking into the system. And they said, well, the real story is probably that they wanted to get it kicked out because we were dealing drugs. So it's Muslims on campus dealing drugs. 2 Muslims, among other people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Islamic
I
high
hacked
schools.
into my computer.
Your own computer?
Yes, no, it's my school computer.
Yeah, there's, if you're doing something wrong, it's not confession time.
no, and he's short too. Uh-oh.
Okay, I was short too, yeah. People used to look at me and say, Doba, your sister's gonna be taller than you someday. I had some control over it, yeah. She's 4 years younger. She did not grow taller than me. So anyway,
You won that one.
yeah, exactly. I doing nothing. So,
But
Drinking milk.
I mean, there's the case that's often cited in that example where like these companions are complaining to the Prophet, peace be upon him, about this other guy who prays but then goes and starts looting people, like, you know, robbing people, and then the Prophet said, peace be upon him, you know, either the thievery will outweigh the salah, will overtake the salah will overtake the thievery, right?
What happened?
The salah overtook the thievery. But the interesting thing, I think, is the fact that he was still praying with them, meaning it wasn't like he was being barred from the masjid,
Yeah.
right? They knew he was a criminal, and they're still letting him come pray. They complained, but the fact is,
Deprive him from the one thing that would return him to his state.
sorry?
Because that would deprive him from the one
Yeah.
thing that would return him. Yeah.
That's exactly it. So, so back to your original question, I don't know that it means my salahs are empty, but, I mean, a lot of things we do because of just lack of willpower, lack of trust in God and such, and so you kind of hope that
As
your
you
salahs
mentioned
are
previously,
strong.
that you know, one of the ways that you can establish khushu in your salah
Yeah.
and so on is leaving sin, right? So
Yeah.
if you're doing sin and you're praying, it's kind of a catch-22 to some extent.
Yeah,
you know?
but I think that does
Still
to
have
some
to do
degree
it.
describe everybody,
Yeah.
right?
Everyone
Yeah.
You know?
But I feel like, okay, like the extreme was, and I have to share this because Amina knows about this. I had a teacher tell me basically, and it was just so, it really upset me actually. She basically sent out
So
an
it's
email.
not the first time that a teacher or a lecturer upset you about something Islam related, but no.
Yeah, it's not the first time. So she sent us an email, okay? And I showed it to Amina, and Amina's like, what is this? Like, it was basically like taking ayahs from the Quran and Hadith and stuff, building an argument saying that if you don't wear hijab, you might as well not fast because Allah doesn't want you fast.
Wow, that's terrible.
Yeah.
And I was like sitting there, and I sent it to Praveen, I sent it to Amina, I'm like, what is this? She's building, and it's like,
And they said
dear
she's right.
sisters, you know? And I'm like, so the point is like, well, if you're not doing this, you
I'm
might
gonna
as well
just
not
roll
do
their
that.
eyes.
Because the thing is like, what about
That's
like
so terrible.
with alcohol, you know?
Sorry.
That was pretty funny. No, but what about like, isn't like your prayer not accepted for a certain number of days, but you should still pray, right? Like,
So it's more like,
know.
I mean, you can make the argument about like if your diet is containing haram, right? Not just alcohol, but if your food is containing haram, then X number of days your dua perhaps will not be accepted.
what about your prayer?
And so therefore your prayer would not be accepted, and that's not a reason not to pray, it's a reason not to eat haram, you know what I'm saying?
I totally get it, but I feel like for somebody who's like, say they're like trying to like get out of that sin, say it's alcohol, whatever it is, like we were saying, that's the one thing they have to bring them back, you
Yeah.
know? And I think it's kind of discouraging for them, maybe.
But that's what I'm saying that the
It should discourage
the
them the
focus-
other way, yeah.
Yeah, the focus is not, okay, haha, you're drinking due date, you know, you gotta wait 60 days, no, it's like, it's more like, stay away from.
In a way, and it's also refers back to that. I don't know what the hadith is, but about limiting the mercy of Allah,
Mhm.
saying that
Absolutely.
Allah's mercy is not vast enough to cover if I'm not doing this.
Yes, you will also have those experiences, inshallah, over the course of your life where the right thing happens at the right time and suddenly it's easy for you to drop a whole bunch of bad things, right? Or it's easy suddenly to do a whole bunch of good things. And that also happens, it's like a door, it's just suddenly open. So, the core is that you should never despair of the mercy of Allah. Yes, ma'am?
I was going to say, in general, I don't think tell me if you think people should ever discourage a Muslim from doing an act, you know, required or sunnah or whatever, for whatever reason. Because if we have like 100 things we have to do,
Yeah.
and if we do 99 of them, or if we do, you know, then so this way of approaching people to encourage them by saying, you might as well not do that.
Well, that way is
That's so wrong.
is destructive. But I do try hard, and no one ever listens. Newly practicing Muslims, whether they're converts or people raised Muslim, and now they're suddenly going to try to do everything. In their case, I really emphasize don't change anything in your life right now, right? But I don't say you might as well not, you know. But the reason there is because they do everything and then they crash.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes they crash so hard that they leave the deen.
It's over
Meaning,
prayer.
you'll see this when people come back from Hajj. Oh, hey guys. No, I was referring anybody in particular, yeah. No, but sometimes, you know, when people come back from Hajj, they're like full of this Islamic warmness, and they want to do everything, and then after about 6 weeks, they're the same person they were before Hajj, or worse. Right?
They're also like an opposite.
Yeah.
My grandpa before he went to Hajj, he didn't do like Namaz. He was like 80 or
Mashallah.
something.
Yeah.
But then after Hajj, he was like the Hajj, the read Quran,
Awesome,
Fajr.
mashallah.
It was
Mashallah,
like,
yeah.
it was like the most radical change.
Yeah, so that can happen, absolutely. So the point is that if you try to bite off more than you can chew, then you might choke.
Can I ask you a question about this ayah?
Yes.
53?
Yes.
In the end where it says, in Allah's with the patient,
Yeah.
could that be taken as he's like on your side for whatever trouble
Mhm.
you're going through that's causing you to need help? Okay.
So, what is the relationship between sabr and salah? They are both acts of discipline. They're both acts of determination. That on the one hand, sabr is basically just being firm about, regardless of whatever hits you, and salah is doing these acts of worship. But when you put them both together, it's a different type of meaning. So when you put salah and zakah together, salah and zakah in that frame, salah you're trying to elevate to Allah Ta'ala, and zakah is to break off those chains that are holding you back to earth, so to speak, right? It's breaking off your connection to the world, your connection to dunya. When you put salah and sabr together, they're both acts of determination and discipline.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, the idea being that salah is an act of discipline in itself, right?
Like just praying 5 times a day on time.
Praying 5 times a day on time, making sure you do it.
Heading your
making
scalpel
sure.
over, that sort of thing.
Sorry?
Heading your scalpel over, that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly, right, you know, and it's this constant thing that just doesn't end, right?
Yeah.
Day, salah, salah, salah.
So
But I think-
that involves discipline now, and sabr, I guess, involves discipline.
Sabr is essentially the same thing, that, all right, okay, regardless of what hits me, I am still going to fulfill what I have to fulfill.
Okay, I get what
Right.
you're saying.
Because, you know, when we speak of struggle being a test, what are we really saying? We're saying that you're not going to break any rules. That's the test. right? If somebody does something wrong to me, then my sabar is not to seek vengeance on them, right? You know, they're spreading bad rumors about me, well, let me say bad things about them. The sabar is that, all right, these people are doing these wrong things to me, but I'm not going to break any rules. That's essentially what we're saying, right? You know, I'm going through tremendous pain, and I'm going through all the medications and everything, but I'm not going to do something that would cheat. I don't know how cheating would be there, but see, that's where the test plays out. Do you break any rules? You're saying?
But I was saying that the combination of salah and sabr together, to me, represents like a blind trust.
Okay, what does that mean?
Because, you know, I feel like when you have sabr in a difficult situation and you continue to pray and you continue to ask despite getting any help, that to me is saying, you know, it's discipline, but it's also like this like blind trust that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to take care of it.
Sure, or unrelenting trust.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, keep in mind the fact that you're praying when you're going through difficulty, by definition, means that Allah Ta'ala is helping you. He may not be easing the pain, but by definition, He's helping you. And this gets down to that last point, right? When we're saying that you know, in Allah ma'as-sabirin, that indeed Allah is with those who have sabr, that if my sabr is being motivated by my relationship with Allah Ta'ala, then by definition, Allah Ta'ala is with me, right? Safi, and then...
Since sabr on its own, it's like if you like eat with sabr, or like what is it? Then you get the like sabr, you get the hasanat of fasting with sabr the whole day. So in this ayah, since it's saying sabr and namaz, would that mean that the struggles that He helped you with would become ibadah?
Yeah. They would become, by definition, acts of worship. They would become, by definition, things that you will be, inshallah, be rewarded for. That if I'm doing sabr, does that, in a sense, become a type of ibadah?
Oh.
Yeah, essentially.
I think they both mutually reinforce each other too.
Explain further.
As in, if you have, if you're praying, then that'll hopefully inculcate and solidify your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and help you persevere through times of hardship. And if you have sabr, regardless of how busy your schedules are, you're going to make time to actually maintain that. You know?
Yeah.
It will kind of reinforce.
Just the act of making your salah in this society is an act of sabr.
Yeah.
Because I think I give you the example of a friend of mine who went to a very, very traditional Deobandi madrasa in Karachi. And his teacher came here to visit him here, and he's not even from a big city, he's from a smaller city. And they're just going around, and the teacher said to him that if people in this society make all their 5 prayers, you should consider them to be awliya of Allah. It's that hard.
Yeah, it is hard.
It's very, very hard.
It's very hard.
It's like wudu.
Especially at work, you know,
Yeah.
you have to find a way and
It is.
School, it's hard.
Yeah.
I had a question. So, what is the ranking, I don't know if you could really say, of keeping your faith in the face of adversity versus in the face of prosperity?
I'd say adversity is probably higher. I mean, again, you have the 2 different types of people. One type of person is the one who becomes religious when life gets difficult, and when prosperity hits, they kind of forget Allah, right? That's one type of person. The other type, and both of these are coming from Quran. The other type of person is the person who, when life is good, they feel like God loves me, God honors me, and so they do all their obligations. And then when they hit struggle, they feel like God's abandoned me, right? So most of us will be like one or the other, right? But I would say, in principle, to maintain your faith in times of adversity is probably a stronger thing, just because of other narrations that are associated. Like, for example, poverty leads to kufr, and I don't think I'm paraphrasing it too much, a teaching of the Prophet, peace be upon him. And we commonly have a notion that people who are poor are often more religious, and I don't think that's true. I think that's, you know, in our culture, that's the sentiment. But if you're hungry and you have no idea where your food's going to come from, then you're going to start resorting to things that would be unthinkable otherwise.
But I also feel that if you are in a state of non-adversity, like stable or prosperity, you're not going to be fulfilled because we all have a need for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you're still going to be like Beijan, so to speak. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, like, Beijan, yeah.
Beijan, yeah, you're still
I heard a different word. I was like,
yeah, I'm like,
there's kids here. Yeah.
So I feel that, you know, even in that time, I feel that that can't necessarily. I mean, if you're totally just happy without all Swantha, then God help you, right?
I mean, what's fascinating about this is, as you mentioned previously several occasions. I mean, this may be just an incredible statement of the obvious, but you had mentioned this is obviously kind of a book about human nature and the needs of human beings. So this is like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling you that when you are in hardship, these are the only two ways out.
Absolutely.
You know, these are the only two ways out.
I have the student.
Can I say something about
Please.
Yeah.
Because I was in the kitchen cooking, I heard you mention poverty, and I'm kind of listening. You know,
It's a
there was
poverty of attention.
Oh yeah.
That's so good.
Wait, I missed that. What?
Yeah, it's an uncle joke. Yeah. I was saying it's a poverty.
Continue.
A poverty of attention. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
She's like, no cares. Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay. So this Sheikh said to me, he said, he's a Rafai Sheikh, and he said that one of our responsibilities is to, this is the reason why we help people, you know, as far as charity and, you know, try to make them safe and happy and fulfill their needs, because it's easier to find Allah and connect with Allah, like if you're not hungry. And so, you know, that's one of the reasons why we're, one of the benefits of helping people.
I think that makes complete sense. That every time someone comes to you asking for help of some sort, basically it's like Allah Ta'ala just opened the door for you, right? You know, to come closer.
There's any kind of help though, not like food.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why Zakah and Salah are together, right? Because
makes
on
sense.
the one hand, you know, when you give, there's just so much power in Sadaqah. And I think Zakah, Sadaqah, those are things that will help you kind of break your ties, and it makes sense they're together.
You know how, like, a while back, someone said that it's harder to pray 5 times a day now? So, like, would it mean, like, since Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards effort and intention, would that mean the people that struggle to pray 5 times a day will get more hasanat than the people
Inshallah.
that get?
Yeah. So.
But isn't some of the hasanat when it gets easier though? Like, or not hasanat, some of the benefit of struggling is that with anything, right? When you struggle with something, you're sort of working out the kinks, right?
I mean, so let's look really quickly at Surah 94. Not Ayah 94, but Surah 94.
Huh?
Alam nashrah laka sadrak.
Okay.
So the Prophet, peace be upon him, and a lot of you probably know the stories behind this. Surah 93 and 94, Surah Ad-Duha, and Surah 94, Surah Al-Inshirah. He received these ayahs at the end of this period called Fatrat al-Wahi. Fatrat al-Wahi was early on, after he received the first revelations. You know, he receives Iqra, he receives Ya Ayyuhal Muzammil, Ya Ayyuhal Muddathir, which is like Surah 73 and 74 or something. And maybe 1 or 2 more revelations, and then a long period of time where he doesn't receive anything. And he starts getting bijan. He starts getting concerned that maybe he did something wrong, right? There's even a narration that some schools of Islam accept and others reject, that he became so depressed that he wanted to throw himself off the same hill, right? Others don't even acknowledge it, that's true, but that's you find in Bukhari. And then he receives these 2 surahs, Surah 93 and 94.
It was like years, right? Years between revelation?
I think the low end number is like 6 months, the high end must be much more, like 3 years or something like that. Yeah. Right. And so Surah 93 is basically saying, you know, by the morning light and the night when it covers.
By design though, right?
Sorry?
The gap was probably by design.
I mean, yeah, it's coming from all the
Everything
stuff.
I mean, right.
Everything's
Like,
by
he's
design.
trying to test his patience.
Paddington displays the package.
Yeah, exactly. So, he's like, I'm not going to say any more questions here. So, Surah Ad-Duha, so by the morning light, by the morning brightness, and the night when it is still. And we've talked about this before, right? When a surah begins with a swear, you know, I swear by such and such, what is it saying? As true as this is, the following is true. So as true as the morning is bright, and as true as the night is dark and still, then ayah 3 in Surah 93, your Lord has not forsaken you, okay, nor is he upset with you. Now keep in mind, this is grammatically singular, so your translations will say, oh Muhammad, but this is applying for all of us. This is a point for all those people who say, God hates me. I mean, you have no basis for that. Your Lord has not forsaken you, nor is he upset with you. And the future is better for you than the past. What comes ahead of you is better for you than what came before. And your Lord will give you, and you will be well pleased. And then did he not find you an orphan and give you refuge? Did he not find you lost and guided you? Did he not find you poor and made you self-sufficient? Thus, for the orphans, do not oppress them. For beggars, do not shun them away. And proclaim to people the favors of your Lord. So that's 93. Now looking at 94, Al-Inshira, and this is the point that I want to get to. Oh, by the way, I played Qari Abdul Basit, his recitation of this. There's a YouTube video of him, like you can find he's going like this as he's reciting. There's like a red curtain. Someone said this was MCC.
It was MCC.
And I played this, and this is totally true. And I explained the story behind these, and probably a quarter of the people were crying. This is a class at Loyola, so I don't know. Like this includes a whole bunch of non-Muslims.
Even non-Muslims?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was pretty deep. Yeah, wasn't expecting that. So Surah 94. Alam nashrah laka sadrak.
Converting your class?
Sorry.
Have any kids like move further?
Yeah, quite a few. Usually there's always like one every semester or something, but I always tell them I
That's
can't do
amazing.
anything.
Wow, mashallah.
No, but I always tell them that, okay, I'm your academic teacher right now, I can't do anything. You know?
Yeah, right.
I can talk to you after you get your grade.
Has the university ever approached you about that?
No, but I'm sure they're concerned, you know, because it's a Catholic institution.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that they're taking the class is already, you know, they probably have
What's
some
the
sort of,
class?
like Intro to Islam, Intro to Quran, things like that. Yeah. So, did we not expand your breast for you and remove from you your burden that weighed upon your back and raised you up in repute? This idea of expanding your breast, think of the feeling of depression as being squeezed. So this idea of huzn is like a feeling of being squeezed. And when you come out of it, it's like you feel relief. It's like, I can breathe again, right? And raise high for you your rank or your remembrance. And then ayah 5 and 6. فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا إِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. So one commentary here, so the literal translation is, indeed with hardship comes ease, indeed with hardship comes ease. So one commentary is the fact that this is mentioned twice is that for every hardship you're hit with, you're going to be hit with 2 eases. Yeah. But if you include the inna, which is triple emphasis, using that same argument, you can say that for every hardship you're hit with, you're going to be hit with 6 eases. Okay. Now think about it. When you are hit with struggle, what was that? Thunder?
No, she
Yeah,
just
Thunder Girl.
Okay. Superhero. Thunder.
That's an actual book.
Yeah.
So think about when you're hit with struggle and you persevere through it, at the very least what's going to happen is going to make you stronger, right? And so that struggle may not even go away, yet you become so much stronger that you can live with it. To the point you may not even notice, right? So there's multiple benefits. Another ease might be that the struggle will be removed, right? You're hit with the struggle right now, but eventually, and it seems like it's never ever going to end, but eventually the struggle ends. So either you become stronger and or the struggle ends, and or you also become closer to Allah Ta'ala, which means it becomes easier to deal with further struggles, and you can make the list longer and longer. Yeah.
Is that grammatically you're saying that? Like in the...
So inna is triple emphasis. So meaning the logic that the commentators give is because it's mentioned twice, but if you take it up further grammatically, yeah.
The reason I'm asking is because why don't they interpret it that after hardship comes ease and then hardship might come again and then ease?
And
What?
yeah.
In other words, even though you have ease after a hardship, that doesn't mean there's not going
It's
to be another
end.
hardship.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
There
wanted
might be
to,
another side to this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's no guarantee.
I wanted to share something that Yasmin Mugahid talks about a lot. She says that grammatically, and I wouldn't know the difference, but she says that the way that it is, it's not after, it's with. And what she says is that, that the idea is that if you look at a time of hardship, you can choose to focus on the hardship and that becomes your entire world.
Yeah.
Or you can kind of stand back and look at all of the blessings surrounding you, and this is the hardship. You see what I'm saying? So
If you have that capacity, then that'd
yeah.
be very, very effective. Yeah. But I think sometimes when we're in hardship, all you feel like is you're in the middle of a hurricane and you can't see anything else.
Because what you said is, okay, so when you were in that hardship, did you have shelter? Did you have food? I mean, just basic things that you shouldn't take for granted,
No,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
Something else is
Yeah, I actually did notice that, the language is with, not after.
Yeah, it's ma'a.
Yeah, so, I mean, I didn't really, that's not my first thought to understand it, in that way, but is it possible that, from this hardship you will, learn this? Whatever?
Yeah, I mean, you can read the with as simultaneous, or you can read the with as the hardship has the ease built into it too. Right. Although chronologically, the ease may come later. And so once you've gotten past that, when you have finished, then stand up and direct your longing back to Allah Ta'ala. Okay, let's go back to Ayah 153. So, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ista'inu bis-sabri was-salah. So, all you who believe, seek help in sabr and salah. Indeed, Allah is with, and this is again triple emphasis, is with those who have sabr. Sabirin, so those people who are in this perpetual state of perseverance. Now keep another thing in mind, that the stronger you become against things that hit you, the stronger the things that will hit you become. Right? Because Allah Ta'ala does not give you something you can't handle. And so sometimes we wish we could handle less, considering the size of some of the struggles that we get hit with.
Okay, so so when you look at the prophet's example, he's hit over and over and over again with very obvious, visible struggle. But can you say that every person who's close to Allah is going to have visible struggle? Does your struggle have to be something that's spoken of, that's tangible?
No.
See, that's the thing, because it doesn't. Because I feel when we speak of this, we make it sound like it has to be poverty or illness or tornadoes, and I don't know.
Meaning, if we look at many of the superstars of the Muslim community, some of them I know their backstories, and some of them go through horrendous struggles that no one knows about. Right. Some of them seem like they're not going through much difficulty, but others, and may Allah reward them for their gratitude. But some people go through very, very monstrous struggles, and I mean, I was talking with one person literally last, what day is it today? Sunday? Yeah, last week. About this student of mine. I think I gave the example of the family member who committed suicide. Did I talk about that? No. Yeah. Okay. Well, it was a janazah for a suicide, and then so I was talking with this other guy about it, and this other sheikh type guy, and he was telling me about how 3 weeks ago his uncle committed suicide, right? And you would never know, right, from him and his personality, right? Yeah.
What does Islam treat suicide burial differently since it's haram?
Well, the thing to think about is that suicide is often the result of depression, in the way someone might die from cancer, someone else might die as a result of depression, right? Like in our community, we don't take depression very seriously, but we should take it very seriously.
That's an interesting approach. I've never seen it said that way.
Because I mean, the assumption even for the punishments in the punishments in the very severe punishments for stealing and all those other things, the assumption is that a person is in a position where they have no need to do so, right? That they're in a healthy society, and then they're doing it, right? And likewise, such is the case for someone who's taking their own life, right?
But there is stipulations on it being haram.
Yeah, I mean, the argument I'm making is that if we're speaking of someone who is of sound mind, sound health, that is not the same as someone who is suffering from what we categorize as mental illness, right? I mean, I'm saying it's literally a disease that they're succumbing to.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
there's no example like, the Prophet refused to read the namaz and janazah for someone who had a loan or something like that, right? Like in certain cases he didn't
I mean,
participate.
he wanted to do the janazah for Abdullah ibn Ubay, who is called the king of the hypocrites, and then the language in Surah Tawbah against that was very, very fierce. You could pray for forgiveness 60 times, and you'll never be forgiven, right? And there's even cases where he's pointing out what some people are doing, like, I don't know which battle it was, but he was with the command and said, look at this, what do you see? And it was a guy who's falling on his knife, falling on a knife, and the person said, this guy's about to become shaheed, and the Prophet says, no, he's taking his life so people think that he's brave, right? And so, who knows about that? Yeah.
So different though, obviously Sharia does say you're not supposed to pray janazah.
Sharia says you are not supposed to pray janazah on a suicide, right?
Yeah.
Again, but I'm putting the asterisk that if we define suicide as something that someone is doing from a sound mind. Right.
Who's ever sound when they're committing suicide, though?
That's what I was.
Well, that's the point, right? That's the point. Just like, what
So
the
then
punishment.
you're invalidating the whole rule then.
But I'm saying that, but there is that example of the person, taking, his own life in the middle of a battle, right?
Maybe he's scared to be killed, so he just kind of beat everybody else.
Well, I mean, the Prophet is saying it, right?
No, that's true. But I'm saying you can make excuses for somebody else in that situation.
And just generally in society, that is when people do suicide is when they're psychologically, So you are putting that asterisk, but I think that,
Everyone's
But I'm bringing this also to the point that, all right, for stealing, the textbook Quranic passage is that you have to cut off their hand.
Right.
And are any of us doing that?
Oh, no, for
Right.
sure.
Yeah. And so the point I'm making is that, so one issue is how does the community look at these things, right? And I'm saying the community looks at things very, very selectively, right? But the other issue I'm saying is that in terms of the punishment for stealing, the Quran doesn't say anything like if this is the condition. But what I'm saying is that the Quran doesn't say, cut off the hand for stealing if you're in a healthy society, meaning taking the whole Sharia outlook. It's that, the hududs don't apply unless all these other things are in place, right? See what I'm saying? I'm saying if we take it as a one sentence thing, then no janazah for suicide and cutting off the hand for stealing. Yeah. Yes?
Also, I think I don't know if it's Quran or Hadith, but you're supposed to follow the law of the land. So if and the law of the land is like, you can't just cut someone's hand off or stealing.
We try.
We don't do
So yeah, I know, but I'm just saying if someone were to, they would get in trouble for that. So that's
Yeah.
just something law of the land.
Yeah, that's a whole conversation on its own, right? But you see the argument that I'm making that we would say that someone is not of sound mind if they're taking their own life, but I'm saying that we have this example of at the time of the Prophet, where a person is being criticized for it.
I mean, there's just so many complexities to it. I mean, if they're depressed, they didn't get depressed, they didn't seek help, it continued to spiral, and there's a whole system-wide failure. But at the end of it, the heart of the matter is the person who didn't, pursue,
Yeah, this person's done a lot of those things. Yeah, like was on antidepressants and stuff like that. Right?
Oh, is that right?
I mean, but isn't it also a risk from certain antidepressants that it might inflame the problem, right? And so the point I'm making is that physiology can affect the behavior.
Yeah.
Well, I love precision in the Sharia. You have to assume most people who kill themselves are by themselves, so you really don't know what their state was,
Yeah, in
what
that
their
moment.
intention was.
Yeah, this is another argument
This is
I
what
make.
people are concluding that they did, so it's probably safer.
Yeah.
Because imagine if they didn't kill themselves and you didn't pray janazah for them.
That's also part of the argument that in that moment they may have started a chain of events that they changed their mind on. Yeah. Okay, so bring us to 154. وَلَا تَقُولُوا, and do not say لِمَنْ يُقْتَلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ لِمَنْ يُقْتَلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ أَمْوَاتٌ. Don't say about people who are killed in the way of Allah that they are dead. بَلْ, nay, أَحْيَاءٌ, they are living. وَلَكِنْ لَا تَشْعُرُونَ, but you can't tell. You can't detect it, you can't perceive it. What do you think? Where and how are they living? Are they in paradise or are they on earth?
Well, it says we can't perceive it, so we don't know.
The bottom is we don't know.
Yeah. Right. Pretty
Because you do hear stories, and it may be that they're all legends, but whenever there's like strife taking place, stories inevitably come out about someone who you saw killed, right? And they're telling you, no, I mean, yeah, I was killed, but you know, they're still able even to somehow communicate almost like in a ghost-like form. It could be that 100% of those stories are legend, but those stories inevitably come out.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Okay, so
Sorry, I was like, no, I was like,
Jumla
okay,
you always
what?
hear
No,
these in
no,
Jumla
no.
Khutbah. So we used to hear a lot of these stories after Bosnia, when the genocide was taking place in Bosnia, that, you know, this person was killed and they're being carried, and that the guy carrying him for some reason pinched the thumb, and the thumb moved. He's like, wait, what's going on? But they checked again, he's dead. And then he says, no, I am dead, or like, I've been killed, but I'm not moving, so you don't get scared, or something like that. Jumla Khutbah and Shirley's usually never verified, so.
And I did hear, like with this whole Bosnian situation, that the saints' bodies don't decompose, right? So, like, there are people who had died like hundreds of years of saints, you know, and then they were buried in an area that was not a Muslim burial area. And so once the war was over or whatever, they wanted to move these people to the appropriate burial site, and apparently their skin and their body was not decomposed. Overall, the same thing was there was some flood that happened, you know, in Medina, and this was one of the people that lives in Jeddah that told us. I think it was actually Ibrahim Mansour for his husband. It was Hasib, yeah, one of the Medina University students. He said that they saw this leg come up because all these great some of the.
This is the graveyard of Ibrahim.
Really, so Jonathan Buffy, wow.
Yeah, so it was a huge flood, and so they saw this leg, and they were like, you know, and they found that was actually Omer's leg, and it was completely normal, like there's nothing.
Yeah. No, but he's buried next to.
Oh, dun dun dun!
Wait,
There's a hole in the story.
Yeah,
He's buried next to the Prophet.
He's buried next to the
Yeah, no,
Next to Abu Bakr, next to the Prophet.
I'm talking about Omer. I'm talking about. So it was actually done by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they
Oh, you're
thought.
saying this was some while ago.
Yeah, this is a while ago,
okay.
and
But this
then
is the same thing
the
in
people.
Medina, the Ahad graveyard. They also saw some parts of the bodies
Oh, I
coming
went
out.
there.
And what do you call it? So they thought it was Prophet Muhammad, you know, and
So,
and they're like, no, it was Omer's. And
Did they go back and
the
bury
leg,
it?
the leg was completely
Well, but he's alive.
intact, you know.
So he's sitting up reading.
Yeah.
That should be more widely publicized, what you think?
Well, they don't do that.
Well, I'm sure.
That's why it's a legend.
I'm sure.
One of the
That's why it's a legend.
NASA confirmed it, and
It's on the internet, so it must be
the
true.
university
The
students
CIA said they
actually
can't talk about it.
suggested that we have enough technology now that if they wanted to, they can easily
Of
scan and be. But and he asked one of his teachers that question, and they said, you know, what's the point of that? You know, like, we have
We don't
faith
need
in
to,
it.
yeah.
Well, they wouldn't do it because what if they're actually decomposing?
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
it's
okay.
all,
So, yeah,
it's all
we got it
legends.
wrong. Yeah.
Some people may argue that if they did do that for the purpose of showing a miracle, you know, the path of Islam to try to, you know, build more faith.
People always
Dawah?
find
Yeah.
reasons to say no.
For
We
Dawah?
were
There
talking
is-
about that.
There's like so many eyes about showing miracles and people don't believe.
Uh-huh.
No point.
It hasn't been like.
Dude, there's a crack in the moon. I mean, come on, people don't believe.
Oh, you're good. On the moon. What more can you ask for?
Yeah.
There's a wall.
There's a huge crack in the moon. You know the hadith
The
of
crack
the
is in
moon.
some people's minds. That's where the crack is.
Yeah.
So,
I just like saying crack in the moon.
yeah, no.
There's also one on the planet.
Oh, please, no. Saturn.
Neptune. Yeah.
I had 154.
It's always funny. Astronomy jokes.
So, yeah. So, one thing to think about this, though, that I don't think we've discussed this point in this class. Name anyone and everyone who we revere because they are shaheed.
I'm sorry, say it again.
In our history, not including the 20th century. Name anyone in our history who we revere because they're shaheed.
Because they're shaheed.
Sumaya often believing in
So there's
Sumaya
one.
and Yasser, right?
Sumaya and Yasser, yeah.
That's about it, I think.
Can you think of anyone else? The Prophet, peace be upon him. How did he die? Sorry?
Oh, the
Black
Old age.
magic movie?
How did he die?
He was sick, old age.
So one belief, the common belief that we narrate in our community is that he died as part of old age and everything. Another belief is that he
I think I
succumbed.
know. Wait, is it that he, like, didn't he have the option to live longer? So, it's like,
So he was given that also.
Yeah.
But another belief is that he died as a result of the poisoning that was done, 10 years earlier, right? How did Abu Bakr die? Same thing. The dominant view is essentially aging, but another view is that he may have been poisoned. Omar, how did he die?
Assassin.
Killed. Uthman, how did he die?
Assassin.
Killed. Ali, how did he die? Killed.
Assassin. Yeah.
Right? I forgot how Imam Hassan died. Imam Hussein, he's perhaps the most famous case. But in the case of Omar, Uthman, Ali, the people for whom that's definitely agreed upon as their story, we don't talk about them being shaheed in their death, right? Now think of anyone you can think of throughout our history who we revere them because of their assassination.
Abraham Lincoln.
I'm talking about Muslims. Yeah. He may have been a closet Muslim, just like the current president. Yeah, he's got the. It's probably Jamali beard too. Yeah.
got the ground. But
Think of
but
anybody.
like if those people that were shaheed, right? They did something good. And then
The,
they got
the
killed.
point I'm making is that there's this contemporary notion that we are a people of like a martyrdom cult. But all the people who were assassinated throughout our history, we actually revere them because of their lives, not because of their death.
Yeah,
Right?
so true.
Try your best to think of anyone except for Malcolm X and Sayyid Qutb, right? Anybody from the 20th century.
What about that kid who had the arrow?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean that would be another one of those cases, right? But even that story is not really commonly told, right?
But you're saying that their life is better than.
Meaning the part we focus on is their life,
Yeah.
not their martyrdom.
You're saying that even for the case of Malcolm X, right? And then the arrow.
I mean, Malcolm X would not be, I don't think he'd be nearly as popular today, or nor would Sayyid Qutb in many circles if they were not assassinated, right? But still, we praise them for the work they did, right? I'll accept everyone's others. But the point is that there's this notion both within our community as well as especially outside our community that we're a martyrdom cult. The actual martyrdom cult is Christianity, right?
Absolutely.
Starting with Jesus, peace be upon him, and over again, many of the major saints are all martyrs. All the way back to the
Western European history is
But you could
essentially
like say that
cultural.
like their life was better than their.
But I'm saying what's focused on is the martyrdom. Right? I'm saying that we have all these narratives of people, like talk about someone like Salahuddin, and see how many people you can find who could tell you how he died. Right? So he's this big figure in battle and everything. And you'll have trouble finding anybody who can tell you how he died. Right? Khalid bin Walid, how did he die?
Disease.
He got like sick or something, right?
He had the plague in Homs.
And so the point is that most often when we speak about their iman and their actions, or their actions as those relate to iman, right? Not as much about their death. I mean, there's a few other examples. There's Hallaj, who like was one of the big.
What?
Waiting. Hallaj was one of the big Sufis, and who is famous, especially in Western circles, for being executed, right? And you do have a few stories here. There's sorry. How did she die? Was she executed?
Yeah, by the Pharaoh, yeah.
Okay, again, see, I didn't
Was
even know
it her story pretty much because of her martyrdom?
that. But I think, I mean, the fact is, I didn't even know that she was executed. I always saw her story for her iman.
No, I'm not sure.
I do remember her patient story was very brutal and stuff.
So, but this is a point to think about, that we often celebrate not even the life but the iman of people, right? Or the perceived iman of people, as opposed to celebrating the shuhada of people. Yes.
You know how in Christianity, especially like around the Crusades time, there was the whole like
idea of like the kingdom of heaven. Basically, anything you do, whatever. If you do jihad, whatever, using our term.
What's the equivalent word in Christianity for the way we define jihad?
I don't even know.
Crusade. It's crusade. It's literally crusade.
Crusade.
Yeah.
Like if they crusade, then they get heaven. Like no matter what they do. But in our tradition.